Kasim with the Daily Google News, and I'm here with my buddy Jan Slovnik.
Yes.
How did I do?
Good.
Yeah, long-time YouTube subscriber, asks brilliant questions. One of the sharpest guys that shows up to our live regularly. How long have you been watching us on the tubes?
I think I've subscribed before you had 1K subscribers.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't. I was going to say back when we didn't know what we were doing. The truth is we still don't know what we're doing.
No.
Yeah, but in the infancy of the YouTube days, super appreciate you, man. You've always been just like so engaged, and you bring hard questions, and those are my favorite people because it means you're thinking. So if you're watching this, Jan moved from the agency world to the freelance world,
Correct.
and I love those stories because I feel like so many people need to do that in art, maybe. Or want to do it and don't know how. So we're gonna hopefully get there a little bit. Jan, tell us, if you don't mind, just a little bit of your background, a little of the story.
Yeah, maybe I just want to touch on, because you said a lot of people don't know how. I think a lot of people are scared to do it.
Yeah.
Because like it's a hard move to make, because you don't know, whenever something is hard, I feel like you grow, right? So I think it's really important to ask yourself those questions if you are a right person to do something like this. And if you can do it, or at least try to do it, it's going to make you grow, no matter if you go back to work for someone else or if you're going to stay a freelancer. I think I grew personally and on a business level the most since I've moved. So it's been what, 3 good years now. And yeah, I started in an agency because my brother is an agency owner, but I quickly figured out it wasn't for me, like the 9 to 5. I'm not a morning person, so it was really hard for me to get up. I like to stay up late at night. So yeah, I mean, I figured, and also he figured out after a year and a half-ish, that it just wasn't working, right?
This isn't where you're most effective. I want to meditate on that for just a minute. We, for some weird reason, globally like to shame people that don't fit in the box.
I agree. Yeah.
Right? Like there's something about it. It was like, oh, you don't conform. And so you need to feel bad about yourself. You're doing it wrong. And it's such a flawed model, because often, not to pander, but those are the sharpest people. Those are the people that really should maybe be given the flexibility that they need to go do the thing that they're doing. And my business partner, John Moran, he's like that. John's a night owl, stays up until 2 o'clock in the morning. John is horrible at following processes. John doesn't do a bunch of things that if we were a brick and mortar, not brick and mortar, but ivory tower, white glove agency, he wouldn't have lasted 30 days. And yet he's the best Google Ads guy in the whole wide world. Yeah. So what I'd love to do, and this is more for our listeners and our viewers, Jan, than it is for you, but I love what you said. Oh, I figured out this didn't work for me. That's okay. Stop trying to smash yourself into a box like you're Play-Doh. You're not. If people really like the 9 to 5 and they feel really comfortable with the security and they're like, gosh, I have a ton of fun being here. Awesome. If not, there's nothing wrong with you. And do what Jan did and take the leap, which is scary. So talk to us about that. Year and a half in the agency, you figured out all right, this isn't really my jam. Were you scared? Were you ready? How did that feel?
I definitely wasn't ready. I wouldn't say I was scared, because I'm not such a person to be intimidated by something. I feel I just go with the flow, right? What happens, I'll figure it out in a way, right? But if I can just step back a bit, because I think it's important, because I think it starts in school, right? Because you just learn a wide variety of topics, and you can be only good at one, but the school system tells you, oh, you're bad, right? But if you're good at that one thing, just do that one thing, right? And just do it great, and things are going to work out for you, I feel. So yeah, I don't think I was scared, but yeah, now that I have 8 clients, I manage 8 clients with my girlfriend as well. Business is going great. So
when you answered 2 of my questions, but you skipped forward. So
yeah,
you go out on your own. When you go out on your own, how did you get your very first client? Because that's every freelancer's biggest problem, is where does my first client come from?
So basically, my girlfriend was working with a guy that was working as a freelancer for another company, and he said that they needed a Google Ads advertiser.
Okay.
So it was kind of easy to get the first one.
Yeah. Well, dude,
It
so
was a
that's the
bit
story that
lucky.
I hear from a lot of people is they started their freelance career after a client fell into their lap.
Yeah.
And so really for those watching that want to start freelance, maybe that's the key is run a flag up the pole,
Yeah.
you know, on LinkedIn, put the word out, start talking to your network and just let people know, hey, I'm interested. And you don't have to quit your job, by the way. You can work your job, work freelance on the side, and then kind of figure it out. How did you decide what to charge them? How did you know what to bill?
Basically, the agreement was, it was about a minimum wage for Slovenia. So let's say you get about €1,000 net in Slovenia. It's a bit lower, or it was a bit lower at the time. So when I went as a freelancer, you have to open a sole proprietorship and you have to pay taxes. So it was like 1,000 plus the taxes, let's say. So I knew I was covered like on the lowest level I could be. And then I was like, okay, I'll get through the day with this kind of money, right? And the initial agreement was that I will be working 8 hours a day for that company. And I also did and still do some Facebook advertising for them. But nowadays, I don't do closely to 8 hours a day for that company. But I don't think that matters at the end. At the end is what you bring to the table, right? How well you can do your job, right?
Dude,
Yeah.
so you just said something that I think is really brilliant. The first piece of the freelancing model for me is you have to cover your nut. Like make sure that you can cover your core expenses. And then once you've done that, now you can start to be, you know, branch out, be more sophisticated, have higher end clients, but covering your core expenses is critical. Number one. Number two, the thing that I really liked is avoid anything that's hourly. It's not about the time in, it's about the output. What is it that you're doing? What is it that you're pushing out? And that's the freelance model. If you're going to be paid hourly, go be an employee somewhere. That's my soft opinion, I guess. Maybe I don't want to project that onto you. Do you agree, or do you work on an hourly basis?
I totally agree. I really rarely work on an hourly basis. If I know it's going to be a really short project, for example, I might go with hourly rate, but I really try to avoid it as much as I can.
Yeah. And so if you've got 8 clients, how did you get the other 7?
Yeah. So I think for about a year, I only had that one client, and I didn't feel like even I was capable enough to take on more clients because I was still figuring it out, right? So I was mostly working on Google Ads, and sometimes I felt like I had no clue what I was doing. And that's where your channel came in.
That doesn't go away, by the way, Jan. That's
yeah, I know. I still have this.
You're doing something right.
I still have this.
Yeah.
But at least now I know, okay, I can do it at a decent level, let's say, to put it mildly. But yeah, I was still figuring out a lot of stuff. I was watching your channel, like I still do basically daily. And that's how I leveled up my knowledge and everything I do. And then I got the second client after, I think it was just about a year, maybe a year and 2 months after the first one. And they reached out to me on LinkedIn. It was an agency that was looking for a digital agency that was looking for a Google Ads advertiser because they didn't have a proper one in-house, let's say. And I still work with them to this day, and I work on 2 projects with them.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that they came from LinkedIn, by the way. I feel like LinkedIn is underappreciated, and it's a really good opportunity to do some networking. Not that cold outreach, jump into your DMs BS, but like some honest to goodness, real networking and outreach. If a meteor hit my business tomorrow and I had to just pound the pavement and get new work, it would be on LinkedIn for me. It's just so many people are so accessible, and if you'll take the time to really get to know them and their needs, I think, you know, because I get that question a lot. Where do you find clients? And I think LinkedIn is a good place, but it's not just like, oh, can I do your Google ads via direct messenger? It's being, intelligent and sophisticated and having good conversations.
Like I don't even do that much on LinkedIn on its own. So it's kind of surprising to me how many like outreaches I get, like how many people write to me that they need help with something or even job offers. And I basically always decline them because they want someone like on the site, right? And I'm like, no, I'm really grateful I can do this like freelancing work from my home, especially like I'm a big introvert, even though it might not show. I kind of learned how to be an extrovert, let's say, but in my core, I'm still a huge introvert and I really don't like big groups of people. And that's why this didn't work for me, right? And yeah, most of my clients came from LinkedIn or referrals. Someone knew someone that needed help. And yeah, that's the easiest way. So, and I feel like the longer you are in business, more people will
Just
reach out
work
to
flows to
you.
the
Yeah,
competent. That's exactly right.
yeah.
Yeah. And when did your girlfriend start working with you?
It's been almost a year now, maybe a bit less.
Okay.
Maybe 8-10 months, something like this.
Yeah.
And yeah, she also brought a client with her when she started working. We don't do work with them anymore because like it was too stressful, too painful. And I think that's also important, knowing when to say no. Don't like just do everything for money.
Right.
Like don't, I mean, of course, cover your basic expenses, like we said at the start, but at a certain point, just don't do it because of money. It's not worth it. It's really
Your
not worth
business
it.
won't grow until you start saying no.
I agree. Yeah.
That's a weird lesson to learn. And it took me longer than it should have, but your business will not grow until you start saying no.
Yeah. And a lot of times this no has to come because also a client says, okay, I can't pay this much. Can you go lower? You have to say no at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
And I think it happens quite often, especially in Slovenia. Like it's a small market. There's 2 million people, about 2 million people in Slovenia. It's a really, really small market. I don't think we have a billionaire in Slovenia. No company, I think, ever sold, or maybe one sold close to 1 billion. So like it's a really, really, really small market. And the average income is also not high. But that's why people will always try to push on the price. And you just have to start saying no here. It's really, really important, I feel.
Are all your clients in Slovenia?
Yes, all of the clients are in Slovenia, but they mostly sell internationally. Like, I think like the community, like e-commerce community in Slovenia is quite strong, I would say. And there's a lot of companies and they start to mimic each other. They're like really, really similar in certain ways. A lot of times they copy what they do, like sell similar products and so on. But most of them basically sell outside of Slovenia because the market is, I mean, you can make a living, but it's kind of small, right? You're not gonna get like super, super rich if you just sell in Slovenia. So, but yeah, I have 2 clients that have over 10 million in revenue, which is quite big for Slovenia.
That's quite big for here. I mean, I'm not at 10 million in revenue. Hopefully there will come a day. What are your plans for the agency? Do you want to grow and scale as big as you can get? Do you prefer a lifestyle business? Like what's the grand scheme?
Oof, that's a tough question. I don't think I want to like grow it as much as I can. I don't think that the market is even maybe big enough to support just a Google Ads specific agency. Probably is, but you would have to like be really like well networked. Like I'm not this kind of person, I feel, so it would be kind of hard, I feel, to grow as an agency. Maybe if I would be like a lower level and someone else takes over the business side of things, yeah, sure, but it's not like a goal right now. I think like I just want for my clients to do well. Basically, I want to take that burden of Google Ads and do the best work as I can. And also I wanted to talk about like client education, right? Because I feel like you and John taught me so much about how you should think as an advertiser, because in an agency, you don't think from a business development perspective. You just think as an advertiser. Like when I worked, I'm jumping a bit here, but when I worked in an agency, it was, okay, I get a fixed pay. I'm not incentivized. I'm sure not all of the agencies work in such a way. Also, I was a junior, so there's that, but you're not incentivized to think in a business development way as an advertiser in an agency, I feel. And if the agency doesn't have someone that will think in that way, then the agency will basically stagnate. And now that I transferred into freelancing, yeah, from start, I was still thinking in an advertiser way, but now the more I educate myself, I realized how important it is to tell the client, look, it's not all about the ROAS, right? Because especially here, I think we're like, with most things, we're like 3 to 5 years behind the curve normally on general things. And it's the same is true for advertising, I would say. And everyone still talks only about ROAS. No one talks about MER, or they talk about lifetime value, but they don't really calculate it, or customer acquisition cost. Like, okay, you still have to have the cash flow for this, and there's not that much investment going on like in the US, because I know there's like companies that get millions and millions of dollars and can't afford to have negative cash flow basically because they get investments. But still, e-commerce business owners don't think in such a way. And I think this is really important. I want to bring this forward to light. And so they start thinking in that way, because they will grow out of it. And like, we will all grow as a result. And that's really, really important, I feel.
Yeah, I love that note. What other advice do you have for either people that want to become freelancers? And dude, you know what's funny is I don't consider you a freelancer. A freelancer for me is somebody who's doing ad hoc projects, but is more of like a Ronin, you know, they're a traveling samurai. You're an agency owner. You've got 8 clients consistently. You've got a staff member who's your girlfriend, but still, like, you know, you have a team. That's an agency. It's a small agency. And I'm not, if you're well in the freelance badge with pride, then good for you. I don't want to take it away from you, but I think it for me, freelance is one step below agency, and you've graduated agency. And for whatever that's worth, I want to congratulate you on it, because it's not a small feat. So that said, what advice do you have for people that want to move into freelance and or agency ownership?
I would say, don't be scared, even if it looks like a big task to overcome. It's not as tough later on, I would say, when you make that first step. You'll figure out a way, I feel. Like people just, they thrive on like challenges, I feel. Maybe it's not for everyone, but I feel that most people that are just even thinking about this are one foot through the door, right?
Yep.
So just like Shia LaBeouf says, just do it.
I think Shia LaBeouf stole that from Nike. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, probably. But he made it popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else. Like, you have to maybe this when we were talking about how I feel like I wasn't prepared, I didn't know how much work still has to go into this business side of things. So like I had to figure out stuff like taxes, like invoicing and everything that comes with it, right? So it takes a good chunk. The more clients you have, the bigger chunk it takes out of your day. But it's not like impossible to do, right?
Mm.
It's not that hard that you won't figure it out. You will. But yeah, it's been the best move I've made. So yeah, just do it.
Would you take clients that come to you from outside of Slovenia?
Yeah, but it kind of depends. Like I and my girlfriend, we do Google Ads for companies from Slovenia for other countries as well. So it would be kind of easy. But I feel like the US market, for example, is so much harder than European market, because whenever I try something in the US, it has like 50% chance of not working if compared to if I try it in on any European market almost, except maybe the bigger ones like are also tougher, like UK, Germany, France, for example. France is one of the hardest ones, by the way. But yeah, I'm definitely open to it if everything like you also have to feel the energy from the other side. I feel like
Sure.
I sometimes get on a call and I just don't feel it, and after the call I'm like, okay, I don't think this will work out, I wish you well, and that is it, right? So you have to have similar goals in mind, I feel.
How many languages do you speak?
Well, it's English, Slovenian, and then Serbo-Croatian. I speak it, let's say 3.5 out of 5. And then I also speak some Spanish, like on a basic level.
Here's what I'm asking. If you're willing to take clients, and maybe it sounds like specifically clients from Europe could be great for you. And then there's a multilingual thing to contend with in Europe that the States doesn't have quite as much. If somebody's watching this video and they wanted to work with you, how could they reach out?
LinkedIn is the best.
Okay, we'll include a link to your LinkedIn profile in the description of this video. Last words to you. Anything else that you want to touch on that we didn't touch on?
I just want to thank you, John, Regina, FA, Osama, Colby. I don't know, I probably missed someone. You guys are doing God's work, really. I mean, I can't believe your content is free.
We've tried to charge for it, it just goes poorly. So we never cracked that code.
I mean, in a way, it's not free. I feel like in a way it's not free because of course you get something out of it, right?
Yeah.
But just the fact that someone can type in something Google Ads related on YouTube and get it like this, right?
It's a miracle of humanity, isn't it? Like, yes, we're just all helping each other. And then you get it back by many, many multiples, which is pretty cool too.
I think like creating content is, I don't know, like this great thing that one can do. I don't do a lot of it. I don't feel like I'm the right person to do it because it's really stressful for me to do such stuff. But whoever does it, I admire them like a lot. I've tried, so I'm a bit of a gamer myself, and I've tried streaming, for example, and it's so damn hard. I swear to God, it's really hard. Everyone thinks you just sit there and play games. It's much, much harder than that. So whoever does content, I know how much work goes into that. And I just applaud you, really. And I really, really want to thank you. I learned so much from you guys. And just
who do you like more, me or John?
That's so hard to answer.
I know the answer is obvious.
No. It's not obvious. No, really. You just have such different traits that you're not comparable, I feel. You're a great team that just works together like seamlessly. And you're both great at what you do.
That's a very diplomatic answer, man. I appreciate you. He's the brains behind the operation for sure. I like to make people uncomfortable and ask that question because I know how smart that guy is. Dude, you did great. I think, you said you're uncomfortable creating content. That's surprising to me because this was a great video. It's a great interview. I think you're gonna provide a ton of value to people. If you're watching this, hit Jan up. If you're anywhere in Europe and you're looking for a Google Ads manager, it sounds like he's going to be awesome. Knows what he's doing, has a heart for his clients. If you're thinking about freelancing, do it. Go for it. Make it happen. Like, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Right? Like, what is the worst that can happen? Don't quit your job. I'm not saying that. I hate that whole narrative, like burn the boats, jump ship, go all in. No, don't do that. But run a flag up the pole and just tell some people, hey, I'm looking for a freelance client or two. And then be honest. What I like to do, and what I did anytime I enter any new market, I'm like, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm brand new at this. I'm still figuring it out. Now, the trade-off there is you're going to get it for way cheaper than you'd get it otherwise. And I'm going to dedicate my life to getting good. And I think there's a lot of businesses that are really, really receptive to that type of narrative. So if you're thinking about freelancing, go in, with that heart and just be honest. And be honest, sounds like it's the best thing that happened to you. It's the best thing that ever happened to me, is going out on my own. And I know half of our subscribers are, maybe thinking along those lines. So I appreciate your inspiration today, dude. If you're watching, like, comment, and subscribe. I shoot a video every day. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.
One of the things that kills Google ad campaigns has nothing to do with Google ads. It's people's absolute, complete, and total inability to sell stuff when they get in front of a customer, which is shocking to me still to this day. We track and record every single phone call that we catalyze inside of Google ads with client permission, and I cannot begin to tell you how embarrassing some of those phone calls are. They're unbelievable. So what I want to go over to